Can we do it?
Yes, you can.
Hey, let's do this. April, you're getting started on us to here, kicking us off.
Well, everybody, I want to welcome Edwin and Michael Ray Newman to our boss session this morning. We're going to get everybody's mind right, and we want to get a mindset like a champion. We want to do it boss style. So I'm going to turn it over to Michael Ray Newman and Edwin Britt, and I hope y'all enjoy.
Big boss style is what we're going to do. Welcome, guys. April, thanks for having us. We are very grateful to be here, excited to be here. And Boss it's been an impressive company over the last 2 years. I know they've transitioned and came out on top through the pandemic. So what we're going to talk about today is called Mindset of a Champion. Edwin, Britt, and I, partners in Edge Global, what we do is we travel all over North America talking about leadership, sales training, operational engagement. Defining the gap when it comes to generational communication. There's a lot of different things that we do, but Mindset of a Champion is our foundational class. And what I want you to do today, I'm just going to set the stage for you as we go through. We're going to go through some slides, but I want to set the stage for you today. And I want you to do me a favor. If you're on this, watching it now, pre-recorded, or later on, whenever you're watching this, we start everything by saying, do me a favor and let's disengage for just a minute. I want you to make this conversation about you. Because why? Because we spend so much of our time taking care of other people, our family, our spouses. They drain us, and you're working, and there's an anxiety there somewhere in your life, or whether it be spiritually, mentally, physically, or personally, or your job, your career, or your family, or your finances. There's always some anxiety there. So do me a favor, unplug just for a minute. It's okay to worry about it and have those things in the back of your mind, because some of those things you just can't escape. But if you'll make this about you, the things that we're going to tell you today, do me a favor, make it about you. Because if you can't be the best person that you can be, you're not going to be able to take care of everybody else like you need to take care of everybody else, and what you want to do and what you want to accomplish. And we talk a lot about mindset, but it comes down to attitude. That's the first thing that we're going to jump in. I'm going to turn over to Edwin here in just a second. But when it comes to attitude, everybody always says, oh man, Michael Ray, you got a positive attitude. That dude, all you need is a positive attitude. You can do anything. That right there almost makes me want to spit and pisses me off a little bit sometimes, because it's not about a positive attitude. I don't care how much I think and believe and think positive that I can get in the ring and be an MMA fighter. I'm positive about one thing. If I jump in that ring, I'm going to get knocked out. That's what's going to happen when you start talking about a positive attitude. That's not true. Oh, he can motivate you. Oh, he's a motivator, a motivational speaker. I don't like that tag either, because if you're an idiot and I motivate you, I'm going to have a motivated idiot. That's exactly what's going to come down to. I want to inspire you, and I want to challenge you to make change. I want to challenge you, because we always think, oh, someday. Bull, today. We're going to start today. It's not about leaving my legacy. Someday I'm going to save this money. Someday I'm going to go on that trip. Someday I'm going to stop and engage with my child. No, it's today. Today we're going to start today. That's why you need to make it about you. When it comes to attitude, it's about having the right kind of attitude in the moment. We're going to talk about that too. But having the right kind of attitude, it's okay to play upset sometimes. It's okay to play a little pissed off, as long as you don't get too emotional and get out of your head. We're going to give you a process for that. We're going to help you lean into that. We're going to help you own that. And the attitude I'm talking about is a can-do attitude. It's a solution-driven attitude, Edwin. That's what we're looking for, is a solution-driven attitude. So if you have the right kind of attitude in the moment, we're going to jump into that process of how to do something like that. And we want to upset your status quo. What does that mean? Well, if we can upset your status quo, and that's like disrupt your thinking a little bit. Like if I was to ask you how many people believe, and by show of hands, I want you to do this, by virtual hands, right?
That's right.
By virtual hands, I want you to raise your hand. How many believe, without a shadow of a doubt, there's something that you can do in the next 2 weeks that would impact your community, your career, and your family in a negative way? How many believe that? Every time I do that in a public audience, and it's been almost today we're back in front of people today doing live audiences again today. It's been a year and a month, man. So we've been doing a lot of virtual stuff. But every time we've done that in the past, people start raising their hand, and then I say negative, and they kind of pull their hand down, because what happens? Our subconscious moves 10 times faster than we could ever even think, plan, or prepare. So as soon as I ask you, by the show of hands, I want to ask you a question, you started to raise in your mind, your subconscious said, attention, here comes the question. We're about to knock it out of the park. So it came to the conclusion before I finished the sentence. That's why you may have it upset your status quo. And if we can disrupt your thinking, you're open for learning, but more importantly, retention. So I'm going to challenge you today to turn your device off, take a step back, have the solution-driven attitude, an open attitude. Because what happens then? Your confidence is up. Your creativity's up. Pressure goes down. You can think and you can move and you can respond opposed to react. So Edwin, as we jump into it right there, baby, I know I kind of set the stage. We're going to have the right kind of attitude today. They're going to make it about them. And then at the end, they're going to be able to turn out and pour into something else as we pull up the attitude slide here.
Absolutely, Michael. Hey, I was already having a pretty good day, man, and you've inspired me and lifted me
Come
up,
on,
brother.
baby.
I'm fired up now, man. But that is why it's so critically important. And I just want to speak as you framed attitude so well for our audience, and we're honored to be with you guys today, Boss Crane, is what you send out is what you get back, right? And why did we create Mindset of a Champion? Well, here's why. Several years ago, we used to hear from companies very much like company, and people would say, boy, the guys in operations would say, if the sales guys could just get their act together. The guys in sales said, if operations could just get their act together. Man, if leadership could just figure it out. Everybody's pointing a finger at someone else. And they would say, hey, we need sales training, or we need leadership training, or we need communication. And what we did is we said, what if we pulled something together called Mindset of a Champion that was collaborative in nature? And so the information we're going to share with you guys today is time-tested. It's proven. If you'll pick it up and implement it, every individual that is watching this virtually today, if you will take ownership of this information and you will implement, it's not necessarily who you know or what you know, but what you implement that matters, right? What will happen is your operational, your sales, your leadership will start coming together in a united form. See, here's what we want you to do. We want you today, we want to challenge you to stop chasing championships. I got to hit my number. I got to do this. And make a personal decision individually to become a champion. When you make a decision to become a champion, championships are a byproduct of that pursuit. Creativity goes up. Vision goes together, right? And it's collaborative. That's why the attitude is so critically important. It is a little thing that makes a big difference, Michael.
Absolutely it is, E. And attitude is so many times. Have you ever gone into anywhere and said, hey, man, I got to go do this. I got to come to this meeting today. I got to watch this training. I got to be in this deal. I got to go to that customer. And then after it's over with, you think, man, that wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. If we would have had a little better attitude, I'd have got a little more out of it. That's why it's so important to be in that space. And what we're going to do is give them some processes today. We're going to give them a way to check yourself, right? You got to inspect what you expect. That's what we're going to do today as we go through this deal. And the first thing that we're going to talk about is AMP. Little thing that we have is called attitude, moment, process. So as we wrap up the attitude, the moment, and the process thing, Edwin over here, he's across the room from me here, but attitude, moment, process. So if you're taking notes, I know April's going to make this available to you guys later. And I know we've done a couple other pre-recordings. If you came to those and took a look at them, if you haven't, go back and check them out. But as we travel, so many people, have you ever thought about this? Oh man, I cringe about things that I have done in the past or opportunities I didn't take my shot in or things you regret. And that impacts how we are right now in this moment. Attitude, moment, process. AMP is the first process we're going to give you. It's a little bit of process inside the process. We'll give you the big process in a minute, but AMP's the first thing we're going to talk about. The A is for attitude. We've talked about the attitude, and it's about having a solution-driven attitude. It's about having an open mind to be able to find a solution. It's not confrontational. It's collaborative and just in nature. Mindset, attitude, moment is the second one. The second piece of the mindset on AMP is moment, because really and truly, all we can control is right now. You can't control what happened this morning. You can't control what's going to happen tomorrow or even 30 minutes from now. You control this right here. This moment's what we can control. So you have to decide what you're going to do and how you're going to act and what you're going to respond to it. That's it. And then the last thing, a process. How do we control our attitude and how do we stay in the moment? Well, we have a process. The best example that I can give you for this, for anybody to this, is a basketball player. It's just a good example. Now our analogy is play a little ball and that happens. So, but the thing about a basketball, why can the best players, why can they just go 0 for 10 the first half? And then come out and light it up 8 in a row and get down to the last shot of the game and make that shot. Because what they don't focus on is the misses. They don't focus on how they played in the past. They don't even focus on if the shot goes in or not. They're focusing on this moment, what they can control right now, and this shot. And not only are they focusing on just making this shot, they're focusing on their muscle memory, which they've practiced thousands of times. Edwin, I know you've had your 10,000 hours of practice in the sales field and in the speaking engagements, things that you've done. You traveled the world with Mr. Zig Ziglar himself.
That's right.
You mentored under Mr. Ziglar. I mean, so you've had ups and you've trained with the best. Edwin has the process when he gets on stage. He has a process when he gets in his sales. We have a life process that we use. The process, attitude, moment, process, the P is the most important thing, because that basketball player, when he's together, what's he focusing on? He's focusing on right now, are my feet aligned to the basket? Can I see the rim? Is my elbow in? Am I holding my follow through? He's not even caring if this doesn't go in, we're going to lose the game. He doesn't care about that. He cares about that shot right there. So when you get into the heat of the moment, we're going to talk a little bit later about things. What are you going to do? How are you going to respond, not react? What does that mean? Let me tell you what that means. If you go to the doctor and the doctor says, "Ooh, man, you're having a reaction to the medicine," is that good or bad? Well, normally that's pretty negative, right,
That's
Edwin?
not good.
That's not good. But if he gives you a bottle of pills and says, "Take these for 2 weeks, then come back and see me," and you go back in there and they say, "Oh man, your body's responding." That's what? Positive, right? That's a good thing. That's what we want to hear. And so many times things hit us right in the mouth and you react. You don't respond. You react because we don't have a process. We don't have the right kind of solution-driven attitude. We don't stay in the moment, and we don't have anything to check us with. Where am I right here in my process? So that process, what can we control, Edwin? What can you control right now? You can control
your attitude,
Bam.
your work ethic, right?
Yeah.
Your body language, how you respond. All of those things are critically important.
100%. You can control those things. You can control your attitude. You can control your thought process. You can control how you show up. You can control how you prepare. You can control the actions that you take every day. So attitude, moment, and process is a big one, Edwin. As we go through that deal and talk about how to, I want to talk about a little bit how to manage that time and what that really looks like for them. But that right there is a game changer.
It really is, Michael. And something I learned a long time ago, guys. And what we want to share with you guys today is you cannot hit a target that you haven't set, right? We often go through our life as sort of a wandering generality as opposed to a meaningfully specific. This information, what we're sharing with you today, will allows you to set a target. And so sometimes people say, well, what does a champion look like? What do champions achieve? Why would I want to have a mindset of a champion? I want to give you 4 levels that we've all been through, right?
Before we jump in there, I got to tell them, you guys are seeing that picture there. I want to say that's my son jumping over me, just to let you know.
All right.
And
right.
when we got it, this is the perfect example of AMP, Edwin, because when we got out there, I said, here's what you're going to do, bro. You're going to go out late, hit that weight. Cause we super competitive, right? I'm in my dumb thinking. I think that I can compete with that 20-year-old. I didn't even know I'm 50. And he comes in and he's like, he wants me, cause he can flip from wake to wake and land it and just be awesome all the time when he does it. I said, you're going to jump over me. He said, I can't. I said, what'd you say? Because to us, when we were kids, can't is a cuss word. You don't say that. And I taught him that growing up. And I said, just hit the wake and just get up as high as you can. Promise it's going to work. So you can see in this picture here, the rope, he has let go of it because he was afraid he's going to cut my head off with it. But guess what? In that moment, he laid into the process.
That's right.
He had it wasn't a positive attitude. He was a little unsure, but it was an open attitude of, okay, solution driven. I've got to do this because my dad told me I had to do it. And that's where we are with it. So that right there is a great example of attitude, moment, and a process. He knew he had to hit the weight, get as high as he could, and get over me. So that's a pretty funny picture. Now you can get back to your stuff.
A picture's worth 1,000 words, right?
That's right.
Yeah, guys.
That is right.
But at some time of our life, professionally or personally, we've been in one of these 4 levels, right? We've been in a place of survival, man. And we've all been there, and that's a tough place to be. But as you start moving up, and maybe you've experienced that in your career, you've been of stability, right? Stability is cool, but it's not a place you want to stay, because what's right below stability? Survival. And you spend all your time vacillating back and forth between that. From the time we've been born to wherever we are now, this journey we're in, right? We've been pointed towards something called success. All the media, all the commercials you watch, everything feeds you towards being successful, right? That's how they sell products to you. Do this and you can be successful. Here's the thing, man. As Michael and I have traveled all over the world, we've realized that some of the most successful, quote unquote, people are some of the most miserable people, because they set their targets too low, because success is fleeting, man. You don't know exactly what it looks like, right? Is it what kind of car you drive or what kind of title you have? And it's all about impressing other people. Look at me, I'm successful. What that does is it creates a divide. You can't build a championship by focusing on being successful. Ladies and gentlemen, today, no matter what your role is in the organization, I want you to go forward from this day forward, focusing on the level beyond success, and that's called significance. If everybody shifts their mind from becoming a champion towards significance, right? Significance happens when you take the focus off of yourself and you give it to others. That's the collaborative vision. If you're a leader at Boss Crane, focus on being a tell me more leader and you'll become a significant leader. What you'll experience there is joy and freedom. It's bigger than a paycheck. It's bigger than what your title is. It's liberating. It frees you up creatively and you get to live your legacy. So how do we do that? What's 3 things, Michael, that you can do today to start changing? Okay, you got our interest. So you're out in the audience and you're saying, hey, Edwin, Michael, you've got our interest. You've upset our status quo. How do I do it? The first thing is enter what you see, right? Start shifting what you see. What are you listening to? What are you looking at? What people are around you that are your sphere of influence, right? There's so much negativity out there in the world. Are you putting the powerful, the pure, the positive inside you? When you do, the next step to that becomes expression. What you do, your behavior. When you start consistently shifting what you're putting in your mind, what you're listening to, what you're watching, what your attitude is, you'll notice your behavior will change. So Michael gave an example of that. You might become more responsive versus reactive. You might become more patient versus impatient, right? You'll attract different kinds of people. And ultimately what happens, and it's a journey, not a destination, no matter where you are, how old you are, what you've experienced in your life, what your current title or status is your formation, what you become. See, guys, you get an opportunity. If you're running a big crane, if you're a high operator, if you're whatever you are, inside of what you're doing, you have an opportunity every single day to be significant, your formation. And we will do that, man. You know what? The next, as we move around from that, Michael, as people go, hey, that sounds great. I just don't have enough time. Yeah, what's going on with that, man?
I want to set this up for you because I want you to talk to him about this. But what do we always want more of? It's time, right, boss? I don't have time. Time. How do you manage your time? And you say it so well, Edwin. You don't manage your time. You prioritize your time. And how do I do that? We always have like 15 different lists. We go through our email, our text message, and our whole day is controlled by that. And everywhere we go, Edwin, you ask the question.
100% of the hands go up. How many of you'd like to be better managers of your time? Everybody goes, woo, me. Yeah. And then I say, does anybody in the audience know how many seconds are in a day and how many hands normally go up, Michael?
No, but mine now because I know.
Yeah. The fact is there's 86,400 seconds and you've already said it, brother. You do not manage time. You're chasing an elusive thing. That's why so many people are frustrated, right? And
think about that though. I want you to step back and slow down and tell them that. People are so frustrated because you can't manage time.
And it becomes
they're chasing it. Yeah.
Right. I would, but I just don't have enough time. Do you know how hard I'm working? I just don't have enough time. Do you know how many demands I have? I just don't have enough time. The reality is we all have the same amount of time. It's how we prioritize that. And Michael, you came up with the best, simplest tool I know for how to prioritize your time. I want you to talk to them about the win list, brother, and why that's important. And also make sure they understand the distinction that it's not necessarily a to-do list. It's a whole different shift. Speak to that for us.
And it really is a shift. The win list stands for what's important now. And I say, oh, it's only a to-do list, but it really isn't. The way I look at it psychologically, it is my win list. And I try to win what? The moments. I have the right attitude in the moment, in the process. And this is just one of the processes that we use, that win list, what's important now. And I got to tell you, when I first came up with the win list, it was a long time ago, and I was in a very dark place in my life where no job. My wife had just taken my kids. I had divorce papers.
Sounds like a country music song.
Well, if you play it backwards, you get your dog back, get your kids back, get your life. That's what happened to me, actually. But I was going to divorce court that day, and it was, some of you know my story, but that was low. And I literally was put win on the back of an envelope, what's important now, and I underlined it, and it was get a job, get gas, get my kids back, get my wife back. Get my life back. So I put that down, and now I use it every day. Now my win list is turned into my phone, which I go into my notes and I put what's important now, my win list. And then right below it, I put it down. And now I use little emojis. When I accomplish something during the day, I put a little fist bump, Edwin, boink, boink, boink. And then at the end of the day, I get to wipe them all out. And it's like a dopamine rush. And when you do have a list, or you do have a process to keep yourself accountable for whatever your win list is. And this is just one, I just title it that. I stay on that. And it's not necessarily all business. Sometimes it's personal. Sometimes it's make a phone call. Sometimes it is to pay a bill. And sometimes it's to close a deal. Sometimes it's to have that tough conversation. And within the win list, the hard things in my day, I do first. Knock that out. There's nothing worse in life when you sit around here and say, oh man, I got to have that conversation. I got to let that person go. I'm going to have to deliver that bad news. We can't deliver this crane on time. Oh man. And you put it off and you put it off, and it just eats on you all day. And what is that? That's the future. You can't control that. The only way you can control is get in front of it right now in that moment and have that conversation. Because if you handle it right, and if you come in with a solution-driven attitude at the end of that conversation, it's going to be a collaborative approach. It's going to be a win-win. There's going to be a solution. Either way, it's going to be over, and it's off your list, and you can move on to more positive things. So, Edwin, when you talk about that win list or whatever you're falling back on, whether that be, and my win list now has evolved to my calendar, my day runner. I mean, it goes, they interact with each other now, but it's something I've been doing for so long that it's just nature. It's like my muscle memory. We talk a lot about that. So what's important now? You really do only have 86,400 seconds in a day. What are you going to do with them? Because here's what I always say, this time's going to pass. What are you going to do with it? And if you have to be here right now, be here with that right kind of attitude in this moment and learn a process to grade yourself on, keep yourself checked up.
You really set the foundation, Michael, for what we're going to move in and introduce a process. But before we even jump there, I just want to, you mentioned the fact that I got to travel with Zig Ziglar. And since we're in the great state of Texas, I'm going to just interject one thing as a challenge to our audience, right? People would, if you've heard or saw Mr. Ziglar, if you're ever fortunate enough to see him speak, man, he was magnificent. Or read one of his books, and people would come up to him, right? And they go, Mr. Ziglar, I heard you, and I love that book, or I love that. And he was always gracious and kind. And when people come up to Michael and I, we always are the same way. You know, we'll take a picture with you if you want to, or whatever you want to do. But you know what we're more interested in? What you have done with the information, what it's done for you. So as we're about to segue and introduce this process that'll be life-changing in nature, I want to encourage you to implement what you've said. And so when I talked about what you see will change what your behavior is, if you'll implement a win list, if you'll focus on that for 21 days, consistently create a win list, what will happen is you'll learn to prioritize your time, and your energy management will elevate as a result of that, right? Your energy management will move up. It's energy management that we want to focus on. What kind of energy? So that goes to that. Now let's introduce the trust process, because Michael, you and I talked about it. We were in Tampa, Florida when you discovered this. I used to teach this, and we still do, as a sales process, a client-centered process called trust. We're going to speak to each point of that, but you said something that was powerful, man, and that you realized it wasn't just a client-centered process. What was it?
Yeah, it's a life process. I mean, and it is a client-centered process, because sometimes my client is my children. Sometimes it's my parents. Sometimes it's my brother. Sometimes it's my wife. That is a client-centered process. And I was like, man, dude, I validated so much traveling with Edwin, because he has taught it and trained it for so many years. Well, 5 years ago, we were going live to a little bit over 100,000 people.
That's right.
And we were talking and doing our sales training, and it was fun, and we were having fun. And as he's talking, I'm looking at him like, man, I just realized this is what I do in my life. I've validated some things, and when you educate or validate, which is what we're going to do today, that's the only two things you do when you learn anything, or when you sit and read a book, or when you study. It's educate or validate. Now, what does that mean? Educate is pretty simple. You learned it. That's right. And it's only hard till you learn it. Validate is when you're like, oh man, I have that light bulb moment. I do that. And sometimes you're proud of yourself because I do what Edwin does. And that's, or someone successful, somebody who I want to be like. And then sometimes, you validate like, yeah, I do that. And that is not good. I do put things off. I do always chase time. Oh yeah. I do worry about things that I can't control. I do got to get better at that. But think about what you could do today. If you're thinking about you today, right? I want you to think on parallel tracks. Number one, make it about you. Number two, how can you pour this information to someone else? And more importantly, how can you make it generational for your family, so you don't leave a legacy, you live it? They know exactly. Does your family now know, if you were to leave today, what you always say, what they always tell you? Do they know that? Have you told them everything you need to tell them? Wow. So when we have a client-centered process, which is trust, Edwin, I know we're about to get into it and talk about it, and we say it up and down as trust. I know it'll be up on the board if it isn't already, but every letter stands for something, and they don't always go in the same order. I mean, the T is always first, but the R and the U kind of flip around, and those two kind of weave in and out. Edwin, you'll talk to that. And then the other S and T are pretty self-explanatory. But as we get into this process, understand this is a leadership process, a sales process. It's for your entire organization. And every person in here is a leader. Everybody, you've heard it before, probably a lot of you've heard, oh, everybody's in sales. That's 100% fact. I sell my kids, I'm a good dad. I sell my mom and dad that I'm not a POS, because all the stuff I've done in the past, we're always selling, baby. I sell Edwin that I'm a good partner, and I'm selling you that what I've done in my life is the reason I've been successful, because I've failed so many times. That is a fact. So when we get in this trust process, Edwin, I want you to kind of walk us through a little bit, and we'll just kind of weave it in back and forth together. But if you're taking notes or taking pictures of the screen, I would recommend doing that right now, because this process is not just sales. It's not just leadership, because you lead somebody in your family. Everybody's a leader, right? But it's a life process.
It really is, Michael. And if nobody's told you recently, man, you have all this untapped potential inside of you. You really were born to win, designed for accomplishment, engineered for success. And this will help you do everything you do and know better, right? And the first T in the process is spending time thinking, planning, preparing, and practicing. Thinking, planning, preparing, and practicing is critically important to everything you do. Whether you're running, again, a heavy crane out in a downtown skyline somewhere, or you're working in operations, we don't spend enough time planning and preparing. Michael talked about it. As a professional speaker, I've given certain speeches literally thousands of times. Yet every time in the hotel the night before, I am practicing and working on continuing to get better, because we never arrive. We don't spend enough time practicing. So the skill, whatever skill you want to work on to get better at, you got to spend time thinking, planning, preparing, and practicing. That's the T in the process. What that does is it allows you to be your very best self, right? The next segue, we all have to relate to people. And we need to relate to people so it's meaningfully specific. So we're meeting them where they are. So often in our communication and our interactions, right? Operational versus sales, the young ladies or gentlemen that answer the phones to the people that sit in the big top offices, right? We all have to relate at some point. And sometimes we do that in a dismissive way. We're not fully present. We need to be able to relate to people and meet them where they are. And as we segue through that, we need to talk about and understand a little bit about how we interact with people. And we want to find out in our interactions what they're trying to accomplish, what their why is. If you're in leadership and you've got people on your team, don't see them as a unit of production. If you discover what their real why is, what they want to accomplish, what their real purpose is, and they will work harder. They'll be more loyal. They'll be more dedicated. You'll get more from that kind of approach, and take a little bit of time to find out what are their goals, right? But here's the big one. We hear and then we want to solve the problem. We need to find out, Michael, what their obstacles are. What's preventing you from getting where you are? It could be as simple as, nobody ever told me I could go to the top. Nobody ever told me I was born to win. Hey, you don't know what I've lived. You've got to meet people where they are. And when we do that, we start segueing, Michael, and I'm going to hand it back to you for a minute on the U, where we, in the process, we begin to uncover the real need. Why is that so critically important to this communication and life process?
Well, I'll tell you that the T is super important to understand what you're talking about when you're trying to relate to someone. If you could do your homework when you're going to talk to a salesperson or going to talk to an owner or going to talk to someone, you want to know a little bit about them. You want to know what you're trying to relate to them with. So when you get in there, you can relate. And I'm not talking about saying, oh, you see a picture of them, their little Johnny playing soccer, and you talk about that. We'll talk about the weather. We'll talk about little Johnny, but be able to uncover their need as you relate to them. Because when somebody feels like that they relate to you, their pressure goes down. They're more relaxed. They're more collaborative. They're more willing to listen. They're more willing to have let you give them an idea a lot of times. So, and then you can really get down when you have related to someone, right? You can uncover the real need of what they want, because people don't buy your products and services. They do not care what you sell or what you have or what service you provide. They buy your product and service for what they do for them. And so many times we get so driven, Edwin, in sales and in product, that we're always training on the product. What products do? And when you have a process, Like you go through and learn how to operate. We go through and learn how to do a payroll. We learn everything. We know how to do it. There's a process for it. But when it comes to relating to people and understanding what they need and being able to uncover those needs and ask the right questions to bridge the gap and really meet them where they are, like you were talking about, that's when you can only offer a good solution or sell them something.
And that's where the collaborative vision comes together. When you can get operations and sales and leadership all on this united page where everybody's connecting, and it's not just about, I got to hit my numbers. Do you have to hit your numbers? Yes. Is there certain elements of your job that you have ownership of, you've got to deliver? Absolutely. But when you can create this connectivity, right? And now, it's your partners, your internal clients, right? They're not the enemy, all right? They might just have a different role, a different perspective. And we sit back and we're always blaming or looking at the other person. We need to discover the real need, that light bulb moment goes on. And now we see this united connection there. Now we can come together with a real solution, right? A real solution that's attached to what other people are trying to accomplish. And when you begin to understand that and build that, Michael's talked about it. Resistance goes down, creativity goes up, and now you've got this united vision. Now everybody's operating off the same sheet of music, Michael, and I know you've seen that around in every industry, the power of that. And you've also been in big corporate America where you've seen when division sinks in and it's like a poison, man, it just erodes everything when we don't have that process and that connectivity.
Absolutely. And the speed of the pack is a term about speed of the leader. And so many times we know the answer already. When somebody sits down in front of us, we have a great product. We want to sell you this fantastic product. I can't wait to tell it, but they're not there yet. That's why it's so important to think, plan, and prepare and relate to someone, uncover their needs. So when you do offer the solution, it's something for them and they get it. You have that light bulb moment. You're ready to move together. At that point, you're on the same side of the table. Think about when you're talking to someone, and we lead 360 is what I call it. 360 leadership. There's a book out there for that. I mean, people on the same level as you, people below you, we give a hand up, not a hand out, and people above us, we have to manage our leaders too at the same way. So, and they do the same thing. And here's the biggest point. I want you to talk to this, Edwin. This is the biggest miss in any family unit, any business. I have coached and I run anything, and it's the listening piece. And we're going to pull the slide up here, but I want you to talk to this. This is the most neglected skill, and this is a skill, and it's something we can learn because we are not listening to respond or react, just to answer them. We need to really and truly listen.
I wrote this piece for that reason, Michael, is just that. And in our personal life and our professional life, it's the most neglected skill, as you just said, in America today. I thought about that as my daughter is now 21, my middle child, phenomenal young lady, so accomplished. But when she was 17, she was an athlete and she was struggling. And so I think probably everybody here can relate to this quick message. As a parent, I wanted to step in and I didn't really connect, even though we had a great relationship, exactly where she was. I heard what she said and I would react to maybe something, her stomping her foot, going up the steps or whatever. And I would react. In other words, I wasn't where she was. But when I really took the time to listen and connect with where she was, man, it just got so much better in so many levels. Her trust in me, which was already high, went up. Think about how that applies to the people that you're in charge of, that you're working with. Listening, I want to just give you this real quick, 6 quick points that I wrote about listening. The first L is leadership. To be a tell me more leader, you must be a reflective listener. It doesn't mean that you're not the boss. It doesn't mean that you're not decisive. It doesn't mean that people don't need to follow your direction, but you got to be a listener. That's a true sign of a real leader, because here's the key, guys. The I in listen represents information, and the person with the most information has the most influence. And you're going to gain information a lot more by listening than you are by speaking. I've been selling successfully for over 32 years. In fact, I've been number one for 32 straight years. And people tell me, oh, you can sell anything to anybody. That's not true. I'm the most prepared person in the room, and I'm the best listener. That's why I'm really good at what I do. So if you're in sales for Boss Crane, focus on your listening skills. And what you'll discover is the S, your service and your solutions, will get exponentially better, because you'll be connecting now your reasons for why people take action that creates a disconnect. People make decisions based on their reasons, their feelings, their motives, their beliefs, what they're trying to accomplish. When you take trust and you layer it over listening skills, your service and solutions, you will now empower everybody to be able to implement your solutions. You'll separate yourself from the competition, right? And you'll discover it's really not about price. It's about your ability to listen and serve. That will provide you time. Remember, we all want that time. Your time prioritization will go up exponentially when you learn to listen reflectively. That will also be a big cue to your energy, which is the E in listening. Your energy management will go up. It is not everybody I know that is significant, right? They understand how to manage their energy. They don't give their energy to things that aren't worth their time. They don't give their energy to things that are outside of their control. They focus on what's important now, and they become a really reflective listener that allows them to reflectively respond. People respect that. They connect to it. And then finally, be present now in the moment. When you're listening, turn your phone off. Don't do everything, don't try to multitask. Be present and lean into it. And Michael, that sets people up to take massive action. I know that's your favorite slide, brother. So tell me why.
It really is. I mean, I'm one of these guys. There's 4 types of personality that we go into. And there's a really, the D, the high drivers. A lot of times your leaders are, this lead follower, get out of the way. I'm
the boss applesauce.
That's right. I'm the boss applesauce. Don't tell me about the labor pains. Just show me the baby.
That's right.
And then there's the I people. And that's kind of like me a lot of times. I'm like right in between there. I'm an I by nature. But I'm driven to my D. So I'm like, hey, what's going on? And then we have the people that are really sincere, that are really caring, like you. He's always checking in on their families. Wants everybody just to be okay. Kumbaya. We're all going to be good. Then you have another type of personality of the 4 that are the cautious type. Dot the I, cross the T. Let's make a copy of this copy to make sure it's just right. So, and they need a lot more information. You have to understand those when you go in. Me, taking massive action, I'm the kind of guy that's going to go to the firing range. And when I go to pull out my gun and I'm going to shoot it, it's going to be ready, fire, fire, fire. And then I try to aim sometimes. It gets me in trouble, but I like to take massive action because the worst thing you can do in your whole entire life is not take the shot. It doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be out there. The only way to make it better is to iterate on it. The only way to iterate on it is to get it to your customer. Edwin, I was able, and you know this, but I was able to sell a software company for quite a bit of money, and I can barely turn on my phone at the time when you did that. I'm not a smart guy, but what I did, I knew some smart guys, and we were at the bar one night talking about a different industry that we were in. They were thinking about getting into it in their state. And he was sitting down there and I said, you know what I really need? And we started drawing it up on a beer napkin. He goes, I think I can make that. And he went back and developed it to me. Well, I didn't know if it was good or bad. So you know what I did? I took it to the field. I knew it wasn't perfect. I had customers that I took it to. I knew it was going to make me look bad, but I set it up in the right way. I understood what their need was. Because I had related to them and offered them a solution. I said, try this. Tell me what they say. This is good. This sucks. Can you do this? I would take the product back and I drew it up and gave it to him because I took the shot. I didn't wait for it to not. I knew it wasn't perfect. I knew it was buggies, what they call it. I knew it. But if I hadn't put it out there, I wouldn't have been able to sell that for generational money. That was one of our big home runs in my family. So when you talk about, you got to get it out there. The things that I regret, what I lose sleep over, I mean, it creeps in sometimes. It's what I didn't take the shot on. I mean, me making saying something wrong, Edwin, you've heard me mess that up a lot on stage. I was talking about 380 words a minute with gust up to 550. And I have a little bit of an accent, some people say. I think they do, but I do, right? When we go up north, it takes about an hour and a half for somebody to start figuring out what the heck this old boy's saying. So, but I've got to get up there and take my shot. I've got to get my story out there. When I wrote my book, someone said to me, a very good friend said, you know what, you should write a book. You got a pretty interesting story. It's not like you're going to change the world. But immediately in my mind, I said, I'm going to change somebody's. Somebody needs to hear what I have. Somebody's going through what I go through. If you keep it all in here and you never get it out there because it's not perfect, man, what a miss. What a miss is that? There's so much talent out there. I can story after story of friends and family and people that we've come across that are not taking their shot and they're wasting this time. It's ticking away. You can't get it back. You have to take that shot. So when it comes to taking massive action, of course, I'm all about it, Edwin. And as we go through today, I'm really just want you guys to do something, take something with this, even if it is just taking it back and impacting your kids. Think about if somebody would have taught you this when you were 10. Somebody would have taught you, what would that look like? And Edwin, if you jump in here, I want you to jump into the C's of what we got going on here.
Yeah, we're going to talk about a little bit of courage too, man. And
because sometimes it takes a little courage.
You got to take that courage. Factor. Well, just think about this though, Boss Crane. What if your new word is trust? And everybody starts focusing on that, man. And your leadership says, you know what? I am going to be a tell me more leader. I'm going to take the time to discover their purpose and their why. And operational people start appreciating sales and vice versa. Man, that's what we're talking about, bringing this thing together. You guys getting fired up and excited, man, about what today and what tomorrow can bring, because courage is a commitment to begin without any guarantee of success. But if everybody says, yes, today, man, I am going to know, I'm going to go as far as I can see today. When you get there, brother, you'll be able to see further.
That's awesome, man. That's right. That's the problem. It's the journeys. And I will promise you this, the journey's more fulfilling than the end. Because people say, oh, maybe your big goal to be significant, success and significance, Edwin, we've talked a little bit about it. It's different. The success is different to different people. But significance is when you can help other people do and have more. And you really get to a place. So you have to plan to win and prepare to win. And then and only then are you going to win. But when you do, the most important thing is to understand where you are at that time. It's a journey. You go as far as what you said there, Edwin. You got to go as far as you can see. When you get there, you'll be able to see further. And I want you to circle back to one thing before we jump into this deep, the listening piece. Now we go to a lot of companies, and we've been going 3 and 4 years now. They bring us back and we teach this. And you said something. What if we all got fired up about trust? What if we all started talking about trust? Because when you violate trust, it's hard to get it back. You can never recover it. So if we're bold enough as a company to say that we're going to talk about trust in our operation, our sales staff, our leadership, we're going to make a commitment to come together. When you were talking about that listening piece, Edwin, and I'm talking about the big Midwest company that we go every year. Tell me about what happened. And not only did the leader, the president of HR, change the 3 types of listeners. I want you to touch on that and what he did, and then what people that were under him came to you and said the next year when we came back.
Yeah, phenomenal. He's referring to a company that's out of the Midwest called Klosterman Bakery. They've been in business for over 100 years, and they brought us in. Like today, you guys are getting a snapshot of what mindset of a champion can be. But they invested in bringing Michael and I in for a day and a half, and they brought all their people out of the field. And you might say, how can we bring everybody out of the field for a day, for an hour? I'm telling you, it's costing you hundreds of thousands of dollars every day you operate at less than your best. Brought everybody together, and we talked about listening. The HR director, we came back a year later, and he was really moved by that. And it was amazing. He said, I made a commitment. I took the courage to change. And as the HR director, I realized that, man, my primary role was to listen, and I was not listening to meet people where they are. He implement that a year later. First of all, he loved his job so much more because he was making a difference. And his people came up and said, his name's Tim. He said, Tim has unbelievably improved, and our culture has risen to this level. They brought us back for the same kind of information a year later, because it was making a difference. They said people were talking and working together like never before. We're actually having fun. And guess what? Our bottom line is shooting through the roof, man. We're more profitable. We're more energetic. We're healthier. We're happier than we've ever been. It's a culture that everybody in Cincinnati wants to come be a part of. We've never been stronger when you implement and take the courage to make a change.
Think about that. The speed of the pack, we said it earlier, is determined by the speed of the leader. And he changed the way he was acting and working with people. What if you were talking to somebody in an encounter that you had, and they walk up, and I'm gonna give you a little tip, a little physical tip, because people say, you hear it, but more thing is the action. It's like 80% more. That's more of the communication is what they see you do. What if somebody walked up to you and said, hey, I need to talk to you for a second? And then you go, oh yeah, what you got? And sometimes we get it and take it and leave it and already got a solution, throw it out there, and it's just passing. But what if you were intentional about every conversation you had from one day, and then 2 days, and then put it in for a month, and you're intentional about how you did one thing? Listen. Be intentional about being intentional. If somebody comes up and says, hey, I need to talk to you, say, okay, yeah, then go, hold on a second. And then pull out your phone, turn your ringer off, put it over on the desk across the deal, turn it upside down and say, okay, now I'm listening. What I got. How powerful is that when somebody knows, man, this guy's the boss, he's the head, or he really cares about me because he's listening to me. And then come back and be a tell me more kind of leader. Listen a little bit more. And remember, be quiet a little bit longer. And don't just listen to respond or say something, listen to really understand. And when you said that, and what we do is really makes a huge difference for where we are today.
And the fact, Michael, that it really is a journey, not a destination. As we were going in, it's been almost a year ago now, right? The pandemic really started kicking in about a year ago, and our life started changing, right? And you shared something that we call the 4 R's. And that's how you take the discipline. So, all right, maybe you're always saying, okay, I'm interested. How do I implement it? How do you keep saying this word implement, Edwin? How do I do that? Michael, you came up with something very strategic that allows you to do that, the 4 R's. I want you to speak to that because that's something you can do on a daily basis. It is really a strategic discipline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it was this year when we did it.
Right.
I build, buy, and sell companies, kind of what we do. And I have, at the time you don't build a business, you build people, and the people build the business. And if you're running over your people, you're going to have a lot of turnover. Sometimes you got to call your own baby ugly, and it's okay. It's going to be all right.
That's right.
Well, I'd lost a leader in one of our companies that we have had for over 30 years, a construction company. That's what it was. We were at a standstill. We traveled the country. We had our best year over year for 3 years in a row. We were building. We were going into senior living facilities. And guess what happened last year? They had this little virus come out and shut down the whole world, and nobody could go in those facilities. So our companies went to zero. We went to millions to zero. We had to pivot. We didn't know what to do. And I caught myself in a different business that was struggling. And we were trying to, every conversation was me reacting. I wasn't responding. All the things that we talked about, I was having to always drink my own Kool-Aid again. We had a pretty good lick a while back, and I got to the point I had great people in every spot. So I had everything on cruise control. All of a sudden I got pulled back into chaos, and I was getting sucker punched from the back of the room every time I turned around. And every conversation I had was a fire, was a 911. Everything was over and over and over again. All those things that we were doing I felt like I was drowning. I had to turn around, and I came up with these 4 R's. And when I stepped back, I had to refocus, reset, restructure, and relaunch myself every day. And I was putting so many hats back on because I had to find a guy. Plus the industry was dying. What do we do? How do we take care of the people? How do we keep them working when they're 1099s and they can't go get no free check? Ain't no free check for them, man. They were 1099 employees, and they some of them hadn't paid their taxes on time, and we were drowning. How do I keep feeding the masses? We had to keep everybody going and find a way to pivot and become better. So when I sat down and I would somebody would come out and refocus. I'd refocus, drop that conversation, even though that's not finished. That's just, we're trying to get the fire out. Just simmer down a little bit, refocus, and I would reset myself. All right, let's reset. I'm walking into somebody else. They don't care. Lou Holtz, when I sat with Lou Holtz one time, is an awesome dude. He's a football coach from Notre Dame, national championship winner. I got to go sit with him and talk with him for an hour. And he said, man, Michael, don't tell people about your problems. 80% are glad you got them. Or no, 8% don't care, and 20% are glad you got them. That's what it was. And I was like, that's pretty interesting. So I didn't want to carry that to the conversation with somebody else, whether it was good or bad. So as I sat back and I refocused, I would reset to restructure where I am, who I need to do with, to pour into that person the best. And then I would relaunch myself over and over and over again, Edwin.
In other words, Michael, you don't ever arrive, right? You're always challenging yourself. So as you found yourself in this difficult time, Michael and I make a great team because Michael is a brilliant leader. He's a great business developer. He's the muscle and I'm the polish, right? And I said, you know what you did, Michael, is that refocus is a disciplined response. The reset is a strategic adjustment. A restructure is a proactive plan, because guess what? Complaining isn't a strategy, guys.
That's right.
That's not a strategy. And then you're able to relaunch. And what that is a foundational strength that yields positive energy. Woo. I loved it when you said that day, man. And I can feel it even today, man.
Yeah, I had no idea that's what it was. But Edwin, I was like, that's exactly it, man. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. I didn't know that's what I was trying to do, but I knew I had one way to go, and it was on me. And it's lonely at the top, guys. Don't kid yourself. I mean, try to take everybody's feelings and what's going on and what they're going through at that time. And, don't be upset if somebody comes in and, snaps at you, because they're probably just having a bad day. My son was so good at that. Second grade, he came home and I said, how's it going, T-Bone? He said, oh, pretty good, but Miss Smith's having a bad day. And I was like, why? And he goes, because, man, I was telling Johnny about fishing, and she kept telling me to be quiet. I got in trouble in the middle of the day. I had to go up there and put my name on the boards. And so it's fun. He did something wrong, but he had a good attitude of, hey, man, she's just having a bad day. I'm not going to hold it against her. I still love her. It's okay. So you just don't know where you just try to meet people where they are, and always leave them better than you found them. That's the main thing right there when we talk about things like that.
And we need to be able to step back, right? Sometimes something happens and it ignites us, right? And we react in the moment, and it kills our energy. Our trust goes down, right? Our relationships are broken. Are you being transactional, or are you being relational in your approach? Michael, the 24-hour rule, brother, the 24-hour rule is another discipline. We're going to give them 3 or 4 nuggets and bring them home here today.
As we wrap up today, I
Yeah.
want to just give you a couple of quick
Right.
things. 24-hour rule. If you're dealing with people, always try to wait 24 hours. I had the opportunity, that little boy I was talking about, we coached the same team from 5 years old all the way up in baseball. And I had the exact same conversation when I kicked off every year with the kids and more importantly with the parents. You know how that car coaching and all those parents are great. I said, let me tell you something. The goal for these boys, if they want to, is to teach them fundamentals, a good process. So when they get into high school, if they choose to, they're going to be able to play high school ball. And the coach is going to say, you didn't ruin this kid. That's my goal for these kids, and to make them better people. That's it. That was my goal for them. And I want you always to do one thing, parents. Wait 24 hours before you come talk to me, because at some point during the season, we're going to lose a close game. We're going to lose a tournament. And you're going to feel like the little Johnny, if he was playing shortstop, pitching and batting 4-hole, you would have won that game. And guess what? Don't come up to me right after the game when you're emotional and upset because your boy's not playing. He's riding the bench. Because guess what? I'm upset too because I lost the game. Wait 24 hours. And I've been on both sides of this, guys. And when I have waited, I've only not waited 24 hours when it comes to athletics. One time with my son, and I regretted it. But if I wait 24 hours, Edwin, it gives me a chance to reset, restructure. When I refocus it to relaunch, is coming not from emotion, it's coming from logic, and you actually can make a good point. And I'm going to be more open to listen too when you come in like that, instead of coming in hot.
And here's a great tip to follow that up corporately. You know, when conflict arises, we have a tendency to shoot a text off or an email. If you've got conflict, something to resolve, that is the most inefficient way to handle it. If you need to talk to somebody and it's intense, even though we've been in this virtual world, so it's really challenged, man, when you can, have a conversation, pick up the phone and call, or look them eye to eye. That's so critically important. Don't hit send in that email when you're hot, right? Because you're breaking trust when you do that. Michael, you talked about building a better business, you build better people, and we do that with this visual called the wheel of life and create that balance. Because if we're out of balance, right? If you're riding home today and 2 of your tires are out of line, man, it's going to be a rough ride. It's going to be a bumpy ride, and oftentimes that's our life. So speak to this visual. We're just going to touch on this briefly. We could come back and spend hours just on the wheel of life.
That's what. And we travel, like Edwin, we travel, and we've been doing it virtually, 6 o'clock in the mornings and 10 o'clock at night with companies all year long. So we pivoted. We transitioned because that's what we had to do, because we're not traveling anymore. We're just now starting to travel again. So we've been in these companies, they had been using us for so long. So we just made a program up, and now we're doing like we're doing here today. But this right here is a checkup from the neck up, is what I call it. I want you to take, if you're watching this today, take a picture of it, get you a piece of paper. And this is the semblance of a wheel. And we talk about balance. And, we always try, if we can be balanced in these 7 areas, things are going to be good. Like I told you at the beginning of the day, I want you to make it about you. And the first 4 of 7 of these, spiritually, mentally, and physically, and personally, are about you. And then I want you to do this when you draw this out on a sheet of paper. I want you to rate yourself from 1 to 10. 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. And here's the concept of the wheel of life. Like Edwin said, if you have everything's balanced, everything's humming along, everything's great, family's great, finances are great, career, love my job, I'm in great shape, everything's fine, everything's right with your maker, you're at 10. And if you connect those dots, and that's a full wheel, and you're going to have a pretty smooth ride in life, right? But somewhere, more than likely, you got like a 1 or a 2 here, maybe a 7 here, maybe a 3. And if you connect those dots and look at it, that'd be a pretty bumpy ride if that was your wheel of life. And that's where this comes from. Mr. Ziegler had this. I don't know where he got it from, somewhere a long time ago. So we give Mr. Ziegler credit for it. But that's the wheel of life. I do this several times a year. The first time I ever shared it with my daughter, she had a big old crocodile tear, hit the paper, said she was a failure. And she is the overachiever, captain of everything, and finish everything fast. And we get she's just a worker. So that's not true. And failure, I want you to understand this as we bring this home today, Edwin, is that failure is an event. It's not a person. What we're also going to give you today is another thing called define the gap. And I want you to take a picture of this or write it down. And this is the what if scenario. Every time we coach people all over the country, C-level executives all the way down to starting entrepreneurs, people that kids, we do this in schools, we do this everywhere. It's called defining the gap. And here's what I want you to do on a whiteboard. This is the virtual whiteboard here. Take a shot on a big old whiteboard or a piece of paper. What I want you to do at the very top of it, put what if. What if? I know it's not possible, but what's the wildest thing in all 7 areas of those life? It would be awesome if it happened. What if? So you draw what if up here. I mean, I don't care if it's $10 million. I don't care if it's to have 3 kids and you said you can't have kids. I don't know what it is. Better life, better job. Put what if, draw it up there. At the very bottom of that page, put a little stick figure or whatever. Or you can make, April, when she did it, she put lipstick and pink hair and, she just all of that. She put it. So however you want to do it is fine. I'm just giving you a hard time, April. But we get down there and what if? I know it's not possible, but what if? As you do that, here's the gap. That white space in the middle, that's the gap. Now what I want you to do on the left-hand side, I want you to write down why you cannot do it. I did say can't. That's right. Cannot do it. No time, right? Money, family, real job, whatever it is, write that down. Now I want you to take one of those and I want you to put it on the white space at the very bottom, just right above your stick figure head with the bow in it. Put like time, and I want you to put a square around it. And then from there, I want you to start on the right-hand side, start telling me why, what would have to happen? What would have to happen for me to be able to do that? Oh man, I'd have to get home a little earlier. I have to get up 30 minutes earlier. I have to stay a little later, whatever that is. And then that stumbling block right there turns into stepping stones. Then take the next one and the next one. And that turns into stepping stones to get to what you want. And you'll be shocked. I don't care if it's budget. I don't care what it is, what could really happen in your life if you define the gap. Because Edwin, you said this so good. You said it earlier. You are not designed to suck. You didn't say that, okay?
I didn't say that. I told you he was the muscle when I was the polish.
Yeah. And you said it a lot more professional than I did, but I want to bottom line here, guys. This is the deal. God did not make a person to fail. Failure is an event. It's not a person. My last name is Newman, new man. My dad would say, son, no matter how bad you did today, when you get up in the morning, no matter how old you get, you're going to be a new man, new opportunity, new chance, new way to doing things. That's what we are, guys. Failure is an event, not a person. It's something that happened to us. It's not who you are. You got to learn from it. You got to win or you learn. Now, we don't lose. We learn. We win or we learn. If you learn something, but it's not a loss. That's what we had to do. I've failed at business over 5 times. I can tell you how not to do it. I have had divorce papers. I know what it's like to have to park my truck over at the Piggly Wiggly grocery store so the repo guy doesn't come get it. And I had to walk a mile home. And guess what? He found it. That's funny now, but I'm going to tell you something right then. That's before my win list, and I was the ultimate failure. I thought I was a failure, and I treated myself like a failure. What you put in, what Edwin said, is what you get out. The fastest way to success is get after it, get up, and take it. It's going to be painful. You're going to skin your knee, but you got to rub some dirt in it, put it on it, and move forward. No matter what you do, you have to keep moving forward because you're designed for accomplishment, engineered for success, and you're endowed with the seeds of greatness. Just think about it. Everybody on this call did a little bit better every day. And when you skin yourself, and don't worry about it, people get upset. They're trying to lose 20 pounds. Man, I was losing. So I had 8 pounds I lost, and then I went off the wagon. So guess what I did, Edwin? I stayed there. No. You're one day from getting back on. You're 1 minute, 1 moment, attitude, moment, process. And if you really think, plan, and prepare about it, you relate to people, uncover the needs, which are yours sometimes, and offer solutions for yourself by defining the gap, you'll be able to take the massive action and change your life, Edwin.
Yeah, let your yes mean yes. Let your no mean no, right? I'm fired up about this. I hope you guys are. Mindset of a champion. But here, Oliver Wendell Holmes said this. The great tragedy in life isn't people who leave us unexpectedly, although tragic. It's that we go to our grave with our best music still inside us, yet unplayed. All of us have untapped potential. If I were to ask you today as I close and hand it back to Michael for one last just hoorah goodbye, what level of potential are you living up to right now? Is it 60? Is it 70? Is it 80%? You're somewhere. What would happen if you could elevate that, right? Elevate that. Elevate your potential, untapped potential. Here's what would happen. Every single person takes ownership of that at Boss Crane. Raising tide raises all boats.
That's right, baby.
Yep. And that's how you become a champion. That's how you become united. It's how you become collaborative. That's what mindset of a champion is at its core. Untapped, unlimited potential. Everybody take it up, guys. And there's no better time than right now to get started, Michael.
Absolutely. Hey, we ran over a couple of minutes, but I think we had a little technical difficulty at the beginning. So I think we got our full hour in. I would love to go longer, guys. But if you didn't get anything, go back and watch this. If you missed some of the notes, it's okay. Go back and watch it. And remember, if you can't figure about anything else, just get out there and be nice, okay? Take massive action and be nice because like my granny used to say, people aren't going to remember everything you say, Michael Ray, but they're going to always remember how you made them feel. Thanks, guys. Play hard, have fun, and make it count. We'll see you later.
Thank you, Michael and Edwin. That was great. I would just want to thank everybody that was able to join us. And if you have any questions or would like to see the video later, let me know and I can send you a copy. I'll probably be sending an email out so that everybody has a copy of it. They also have 2 other sessions in the on-demands that you might want to watch. Communicate Like a Boss and Trust the Process. Great session. Thank y'all for joining us. Bye-bye.